The fight back has already begun, yes, about an hour ago. The Department for Health issued a statement saying that he's going to come out fighting tomorrow. Just on today's hearing, and we were expecting a 4-hour hearing, turned out to be 7 hours and 7 minutes. He kept calm. He showed great stamina, obviously kept calm, didn't get rattled with any of the MPs. We were expecting criticism of the Prime Minister, and yes, we got it, but it really was the attack on Mr Hancock that was brutal, really. It was a demolition job, the allegations of lying, of incompetence and everything else. But within minutes of the committee ending, we got this statement from the Department of Health, and a spokesperson has said this: at all times throughout this pandemic, the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care and everyone in the department has worked incredibly hard in unprecedented circumstances to protect the NHS and save lives. We absolutely reject Mr Cummings' claims about the Health Secretary. The Health Secretary will continue to work closely with the Prime Minister to deliver the vaccine rollout, tackle the risks posed by variants and support the NHS and social care sector to recover from this pandemic. Now, tomorrow, the Health Secretary will come out fighting twice. First of all, in the House of Commons, because he's going to answer an urgent question from Labour's Jonathan Ashworth. Earlier in the week, he didn't turn up. He sent Nadhim Zahawi, the Vaccines Minister. He will turn up tomorrow, and we are assured. Later, he will host a government news conference, one of the number 10 news conferences in Downing Street. That'll probably be at 5 o'clock. Whereas the Prime Minister at PMQs today chose to ignore Mr Cummings, barely mentioned him, turned his fire on Sir Keir Starmer, Mr Hancock is going to fight back tomorrow.
John, you've been watching these things for many years, perhaps, let's say, decades. Have you ever seen anything like it?
Well, I can remember I first started covering Parliament in 1982, the year of the Falklands War. And I remember there were some very long select committee hearings then. For example, some of the journalists who went to the Falklands gave evidence. MPs gave evidence. Officials from Ministry of Defence and others gave evidence. I cannot recall a hearing of 7 hours and 7 minutes, nothing like this. I mean, there were only some very short breaks too. I mean, sometimes if you're going to have a really long hearing, you might have a lunch break or something like that. There was just a short break for Prime Minister's questions. And as I say, Mr Cummings, who, by all accounts, can be a combustible, combative individual at times, all the anecdotes one hears about him from inside Whitehall, and yet he used the odd bit of bad language, as did one MP who got ticked off by the committee chairman, Greg Clark. But he stayed calm. I would have thought Mr Cummings would be pretty pleased with his day's work because he's made all the points he's wanted to make. He kept again and again and again attacking Matt Hancock, so he clearly had him in his sights. He did also criticise the Prime Minister's competence. He made a few comments about what he called the Prime Minister's girlfriend, didn't call Carrie Simons the PM's fiancée, talked about her complaining, going completely crackers, he said, about a story about the couple's dog that appeared when they were trying to deal with COVID, and also the power struggle late last year when she tried to get some of her friends appointed. So plenty of targets. Well, ones who got off lightly. Rishi Sunak never got criticised, really. Despite his strong views opposing lockdowns. The PM came in for some criticism, but my word, the most savage, brutal criticism was directed at Matt Hancock, who now is planning his fight back.